All right, diving in today. Single force, but a big one. Steve Jobs' Stanford commencement address.
Oh yeah, 2005, right?
Yeah, you know this one. Practically legendary.
Definitely iconic. If you've got a dream, you've probably heard this.
It's like required listening.
It is.
Jobs, Apple co-founder,
Yeah.
speaking to grads.
Stanford grads, yeah. But
But his message, it wasn't just for them, was it?
no, not at all. It goes way beyond tech. Life, challenges, finding your purpose, things everyone grapples with.
Exactly. And in this deep dive, we're going deeper than just a summary.
Right.
He told 3 personal stories, and we're going to unpack them.
Yeah, see how they connect.
What makes them tick,
Yeah.
what they might mean for, well, you listening right now.
What's so interesting to me, on the surface they seem like separate stories, but there's this thread running through them. Taking risks, trusting your gut, almost like each one builds to the next.
Okay, so story number 1, connecting the dots.
Right.
Jobs' path, anything but conventional. Drops out of Reed College.
Yeah, famous dropout.
But he doesn't just leave. Hangs around. Takes classes that interest him, like, famously, calligraphy.
Calligraphy. Didn't see that coming. How'd that end up influencing Apple?
Right. Totally random. At 10 years later, designing the first Mac, it clicks. That calligraphy, it becomes relevant. Influenced the Mac's multiple typefaces, those proportionally spaced fonts. Huge deal back then.
I could see that. So smart how he used it. Think about calligraphy.
Yeah.
Spacing, the weight of each stroke, creating this float, digital typography back then. Didn't have that.
Yeah.
Jobs saw the connection, made the Mac's interface stand out.
So useless skill becomes key to one of the most iconic products ever. Makes you wonder, what have you dismissed that might have hidden value?
Oh, all the time. I think that's the takeaway here. You never know how experiences connect later on. Random today, crucial tomorrow.
Trusting your gut, being open.
Even if you can't see the immediate payoff, that's what Jobs did.
Drops out, finds calligraphy, boom, revolutionizes computers.
And that's just the beginning. Next chapter, love and loss. Now, this one's a roller coaster.
This is where it gets really relatable, I think.
Jobs is 30, gets fired from Apple. The company he built,
Can you imagine that sting?
oof, feeling like a failure.
You'd think that'd derail anyone.
Most people, yeah.
But Jobs takes that loss, that experience, fuels even greater creativity.
This is when he founds NXT, right? And Pixar.
Yep, during this time.
And Pixar, come on, animation powerhouse. Toy Story, Finding Nemo, they changed movies.
Changed how we think about animation.
Sometimes what feels like the end is just the start of something amazing. Makes you think, have you had those moments where a setback became a turning point?
All the time, looking back.
Jobs didn't let fear stop him. He kept that passion, kept pushing forward. And get this, the tech from NXT becomes central to Apple's comeback.
When he goes back, it's like...
And goes back.
Yeah.
Almost poetic, right? Rejection, reinvention, then redemption.
I love that. Rejection, reinvention, redemption.
It's true, though. Our paths, they're rarely straight lines.
The detours, sometimes they take us to the best places.
We were just talking about loss, right?
Yeah.
Jobs getting fired.
Yeah.
And it almost feels like it leads him right into this third story, the one about death.
It's definitely heavier.
It is.
But when Jobs talks about his cancer diagnosis,
Yeah.
it's not meant to be morbid,
Yeah.
No.
No.
More like a wake-up call.
For him and for everyone.
For sure. When you face your own mortality.
Things get real, makes you ask, what really matters?
Mm-hmm.
Jobs said he'd look in the mirror each morning, ask himself, if today were the last day, would I want to do what I'm about to do?
And if the answer was no, too many days in a row.
Something had to change. Simple but powerful. It's so easy to get caught up, right?
In the daily grind.
Other people's expectations, your own fear of failing.
But then you think, like death.
Well, that fades away. You're left with this truth. What do you want your life to be about? Not anyone else, but you.
There's this line, gets me every time. Jobs says, remembering you're going to die is the best way I know to avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose.
You're already naked, he says.
Like you've got nothing left to lose.
What are you waiting for? If not now, when?
Right. It's a dare almost.
Jobs isn't saying dwell on death, but use that awareness as fuel.
Yeah.
Make bold choices. Chase your passions. Don't waste time on the stuff that doesn't matter.
If we all had that urgency, that purpose, what could we achieve?
Makes you think, right? What would you do differently if you knew time was limited? What are you putting off?
Those are the questions.
That can really change things. How you think, how you act.
So we've got these 3 stories, each one building on the last.
Connecting the dots, love and loss, then facing death. And it's like they're woven together leading up to this message of living a life that's true to yourself.
But there's more to this speech than just the stories, right?
Oh, absolutely. Jobs brings in other threads. Things that clearly meant a lot to him.
Yeah, like what?
Like when he mentions the whole Earth catalog, that counterculture guide from the 60s. He even quotes the motto, "Stay hungry, stay foolish."
I love that. Stay hungry, stay foolish.
It's perfect, right?
It is. That curiosity, always wanting to learn, to explore, not afraid to take risks, to be a little different. Jobs embodied that.
Totally. And it reminds us, this speech, it's not just for tech people, entrepreneurs.
No.
This is for anyone who wants a life of meaning.
Facing those challenges, big or small, with passion.
With purpose.
Embracing the unknown, trusting that even when things fall apart, something amazing can come out of it.
And that's what's so inspiring about Jobs' story.
Right.
He achieved all this not because he was some superhuman genius or anything, but because he was human.
Yeah. He faced doubts, made mistakes.
Pick himself up and start over.
More than once.
Exactly. And he wasn't afraid to fail.
Which is, I think, why so many people connect with him.
He was relatable, worked hard, followed his gut, learned from those failures.
It's something we can all try to do, even if our goals are totally different.
And that brings us to the final thought Jobs leaves with the audience. It's a call to action. Find what you love. Don't settle.
Stay hungry, stay foolish.
That's it.
And he didn't just talk about it, he lived it.
His whole life, yeah.
Makes you want to stop and ask yourself, am I living a life that's true to me?
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with this. What's one small step, just one, you can take today to move closer to what you love? What are you passionate about? What makes you feel, truly alive?
Don't let fear hold you back.
Self-doubt, none of that.
Remember what Jobs said. Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life.
Write your own story.
We've been on this journey into the mind of one of the most iconic figures of our time, but
ultimately,
it's not about Steve Jobs.
It's about you.
It's about finding your purpose, your own path.
And having the courage to follow it. Wherever it leads,